Hello and welcome to DC Velocity's Thought Leaders series, produced in conjunction with MHI. My name is Mark Solomon. I'm senior editor at DC Velocity magazine, and we are happy to be joined today by Professor Bill Ferrell. He is Professor of Industrial Engineering and Associate Dean of the Graduate School at Clemson University in Clemson, South Carolina. He's been teaching industrial engineering at the university for 26 years. And we're happy to have him. And good morning.
Thanks. Good morning.
One of the key issues in the industry today, and an issue that you're spending a great deal of time on, is strategic workforce management. On a macro level, what is the state of the workforce management situation in the material handling field right now?
Lots of jobs, not many people. And that's the simple answer. Unlike many things I deal with, this is almost an extraordinarily simple problem with a complex solution. There are not enough craft labor anywhere, construction or material handling. There are not enough engineers being produced. The ones that are being produced are being attracted to certain industries that have maybe sexier titles and sexier environments than working in a warehouse or being out in the field. Industrial engineers, where I am, are integral. I mean, they get lots of training in logistics and facilities planning. That's directly in the center of this problem. But many of our students go now to healthcare and to tourism and to financial systems. So we are not producing enough talent in the first place. They are being in high demand in lots of other areas in another, and it's across the spectrum. That's the part that I think is probably most frustrating to the industry, because if you attend some of the product groups here at the MHI conference, workforce, I'd be willing to bet you, is one of the prime targets and topics in every single one. And as they go around the room and start talking, they're talking about everybody from craft labor up through engineers and high quality qualified managers. So it's a severe problem, and if I look around, it's going to get worse, because we're doing lots of stuff to try to attract students into STEM disciplines: science, technology, engineering, management, and mathematics. We're not getting as many as we need to. We're trying hard to train them and educate them. And then when they get out there in such high demand in lots of other industries. So it's just very difficult.
Can you, even as a ballpark estimate, quantify the extent of the shortage?
I have limited experience myself, except for what I read and what I hear. And as I said, if you go to the product section meetings here, which for those that may not know, it's a collection of companies that are focused on a particular discipline or domain, like cranes or electrification and controls and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so if you sit in a room of 20 with representatives from 20 or 25 companies, at the most 2 or 3 will say they're not hiring. So 90% are hiring. 90% have been trying to hire people at some level for continuing periods, for extended periods of time, and they can't get them. So I don't know what the total numbers of the shortage are, but it looks like we're producing 10 or 15 or 20% less engineers than we need. And at least my experience with industrial engineers, our students' skills are so broad, they're being attracted by more and more different kinds of disciplines. So if one would have, you don't think about Disney World being a haven for industrial engineers until you stop and say, gosh, all that food has to get somewhere. All those costumes have to get somewhere. The little tickets that let you go to the front of the line if you'll wait. That's not just a bunch of people sitting around saying, gee, I think that's a great idea. That's math models, and that's simulation, and that's 100 or more industrial engineers. So as more different kinds of disciplines as more different kinds of industries require engineering skills, our shortage is going to be depleted within the material handling industry because it's going to get spread across more industries.
We've been told, and it's been preached to us, that information technology is the backbone of everything that gets done in the supply chain. Yet in our discussions before this interview, we're talking about even shortage of IT folks coming into the field. Again, is that the same issue? They are being attracted by other industries that might have a, lack of a better phrase, sexier story to tell?
Oh, I think that's absolutely right. At Clemson, for example, we have a master's program that trains people to do animation in Hollywood. Okay, so now it's this computer science art kind of thing, but it's over in the School of Computing. So you tell me, if you're a computer programmer and you have some bent towards that, are you going to go do IT kinds of work, or you're going to go get this specialty degree to go work in Hollywood so you can do animations that are becoming more and more prominent in the movies? I don't know. I'll just be completely honest. I'd be headed to Hollywood. I mean, I just can't imagine. And so you've got stories like that, yeah, we've got computer programming folks and they are very bright, they get trained, and then animation comes along and starts sucking them up, and Amazon and Google and beautiful large campuses, college kind of field comes along and might go out and hire, 1,000, I don't know. And so you keep producing them and they keep getting spread further and further. I think also one thing we are seeing is that some international, we used to have talent come to the United States to get trained and stay, and now we're moving some computing and IT to internationally, so they have an opportunity to go back home. And once again, you ask yourself, yeah, some folks come to the United States and love to stay here, but others want to go back home and be near their families. So some of the net influx of talented international people are, my perception from my experience at Clemson, some of those are going back home to work in very nicely paying jobs. They can live extremely well and they can be back home.
How does the industry change the game?
I think that's the complex solution part. I seriously think that the problem is reasonably simple. We have to continue to make every effort we can to attract students into science, technology, engineering, math. I mean, that's where you've got to be interested in that. There are huge programs, private and public, and funded by the government to try to attract students. We've got to make the story good. They still got to learn hard stuff, but we've got to make it easier to learn. We've got to relate. We as old gray-haired faculty member have to be careful that we relate and understand how they learn. We've got to continue to produce highly qualified folks. We need to, part of my job, or a large part of our job, is doing research. And to me, one of the key benefits I think I can come to the classroom with to help students get excited is to tell them what I'm working on with research. I'm working on the next generation of logistic systems. Now, it may not turn out the way we're envisioning it, but I'm partnering with a colleague at Berkeley and Virginia Tech and Arkansas to try to see if we can model and figure out what the next generation. And see, to me, if I'm sitting out there and I'm trying to pick an industry where I'm going to use my skills, if someone's planted the seed that, okay, I can see what they're doing now, but golly, this next generation thing may be something I want to work on or work in. I feel like we can make it much more exciting, and we can tell our story, the industry can tell its story, so that when a student comes out, we got to produce more. But of the ones that come out, material handling industry, supply chain industry needs to tell the story and make it exciting. And when you say material handling, we got to get rid of this image of a dark warehouse where forklifts are running around wide open, because that's not what it is. But I can tell you that's what so many students think about. So
the migration to omni-channel fulfillment being driven by e-commerce, that has perhaps a sexier ring to it than the traditional material handling image.
Right.
Will that perhaps be a tailwind for the industry as more and more companies move to this and the supply chains are designed to support that type of execution.
I certainly hope so. I think I think omnichannel is I know from an industry viewpoint, that's where things are going. I think, again, if you tell somebody, here's what we have now, and we're certainly going to have to handle pallet loads, and we're going to have unit load warehouses. But on the other hand, the shipping's got to be across multiple channels, and it's got to be seamless. And MHI came out with a roadmap earlier in 2014 that is not a clairvoyant document, but it does identify some challenges and some opportunities, and omnichannel fulfillment is one of them. Yeah, to me, if you take somebody that's a little bit of a geek and a math nerd, like I am, and say, look, you got an opportunity here. The things are changing. You've got a basis from which to start design, but now we've got to figure out all of the new ways to deliver products. And oh, by the way, for example, we may not deliver to your house in 5 years. When you order something, your cell phone lets everybody know where you are. Why don't, rather than make you sit at your house, why don't we let the package find you at the Starbucks while you're having coffee, if it's a little package, and so we can just deliver it right to you. And if you get on a plane to come do an interview and you realize you're all dressed and you spill coffee on your shirt, why shouldn't you be able to order a shirt and have it arrive at the place or arrive at the airport to hand it to you? Well, you should. I mean, it's all here today. We just have to figure out how to make it fit together. I think it's a pretty cool business.
Let's drill down quickly to what is actually being done on the ground to attract more people and keep them here. Talk about what initiatives are underway to drive more talented people into the business and incent them to stay.
Yeah, MHI is doing a really good job of beginning to advertise the industry. Each of the companies is doing a much better job. I haven't been to a MHI meeting in several years that some companies don't talk to me about. They're in their general area that ask me, how do I come to Clemson? I was talking to somebody last night that said, gosh, how could we tell your students about our business? And my answer is pizza. Let me know. Our student chapters are looking for speakers all the time. So part of this is, since the industry recognizes there's a problem, they're going to have to do a few things on their own. They're going to have to take the initiative and go to universities. They're going to have to volunteer to talk about what they do. Not a sales pitch for your company, but a sales pitch for the industry, and talk about omnichannel fulfillment, and talk about next generation logistics, and talk about the fact that we're spending a large amount of energy, a lot of diesel fuel shipping air because so many of the trucks are empty. We can appeal to younger folks for profit motives and sustainability motives and environmental motives. And we've got a wonderful story to tell, but we have to tell it. So hopefully faculty, this College Industry Council on Material Handling Education that I happen to be a member of, is a collection of 16 academics that are part of MHI, that we try to support the industry. And as we get people excited and understanding, as our members become more interested and learn more about the industry, and they come to these meetings, and all of a sudden a conveyor system is not a piece of equipment, it's a friend that you make who's the salesperson or the CEO. It's a lot easier to tell that story in an exciting manner to your students. I know that for a fact. I can talk about conveyor systems, but if I talk about a person that runs the company, and so it's all of those things together. It's a very complicated solution. Everybody takes ownership, and there is no single silver bullet. So we need more people in the front door. We have to recognize that lots of people are going to be trying to attract them to come to their business, and it's a competitive environment. So you got to pay at a decent rate. You got to make the job interesting. It's actually just that simple.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.